Have you ever wondered if the Sephora brushes were any good? As someone who shopped at Sephora for years, I finally picked up a few, and then a few, and then a few more, and then 14 brushes later. Well, I guess I do think they're good. If you're interested in hearing the perspective from someone who is a self-proclaimed makeup brush addict, then keep on watching. And welcome back. It's Mercedes, and I'm bringing you my Sephora makeup brush collection, review, and overall recommendations. In order to keep things nice and organized as I move my way through 14 of my Sephora makeup brushes, I'll share the name, I'll share the number, I'll share a close-up, I'll share what the brush was designed to be used for, and then I'll share my overall thoughts and recommendations as it relates to each of the brushes. Kick it off with my 80 Pro Bronzer brush. So this brush is designed to be used to apply powder bronzer products. I believe you might also be able to use it to apply cream and liquid bronzer, but I only ever use this brush to apply powder bronzer. And I must say, it is my absolute favorite bronzer brush. So I apply this to the hollows of my cheek. I'll go ahead and suck my cheeks in so that you can see. I use this also around my chin area where I apply bronzer, and then also around the hairline. This is absolutely one of my favorite Sephora makeup brushes. I would absolutely recommend that you pick it up. I wasn't a fan of it at first. It was odd. I had picked it up and then I never used it. I maybe used it once or twice. I was not a fan of it. And then I went back to it and I did not know what I was missing. This brush, though, applies more of a natural application. And so that's part of the reason why I like it so much, and maybe why I didn't like it as much before, because I think before I was looking for that more sort of chiseled, defined look, but that you get with a contour. So turns out I was using the brush all wrong. I'm so happy that I realized the error of my ways and actually went back and started to use this brush. This is one of my favorites, and I would absolutely recommend that you run and pick this brush up. Okay, another large fluffy powder brush is my Sephora 50. I use this brush to apply my powder products over my face as I'm setting it. I use this brush every day, right? The other thing that's clearly worth noting is these brushes are dirty. I did not clean these brushes. I use them so much that it would be hard to do my makeup without them. While I have other brushes, I love my Sephora brushes. Not all of them. You'll hear a little bit later about brushes that I'm not wild about. But these brushes overall are good quality. I love this 50. I find it's very fluffy. It's soft. It picks up the right amount of product. It is one of my favorite. It is my go-to large powder foundation brush. And for that reason, I would recommend that you run out and pick this one up too, because it is one of my all-time favorites. And in fact, it was the very first Sephora brush that I purchased. So really, really good brush if you're interested. I'll move now to the 93, which is a Pro Blush brush. Now I'll cover a couple more blush brushes because I love blush and applying blush products. This one is an angled brush, so I'll go in just a little bit more so that you can see. So this one allows you to do multiple things. So you would use this to obviously apply blush products, both powders, cream, and liquid blushes, as the name suggests. But you would also use this to apply contour products too, because of this angled sort of design with the actual brush itself. So for that, I would actually recommend that you pick this brush up as well. I use this religiously to apply my blush before I shifted gears and picked up a couple more of Sephora's blush brushes. And one that I'll call out now is the 96. So the 96 here, I'm not sure, I feel like it's not doing the best job focusing in, but I'll include cutaways so that you can actually get an up close look at each of the brushes. This is one of my go-to favorite blush brushes. It has even surpassed this one, if I must say so myself. I love this one. So it's fluffier, it's got a very different design. It's small, it's more forgiving. So I'm a huge fan of it. It's made out of the same types of hairs or bristles as the previous brushes that I mentioned, and they're all incredibly soft. So for that, I would recommend you pick this up. You don't need all three, I will say, but you should pick up at least one of them. So moving right along and talking about blush brushes, this is the 99. So this is the newest blush brush that I picked up from Sephora. This one is the just pro blush brush as well. What this one allows you to do, because it's smaller, apply more of a precise application of the blush product. You can use, again, cream, liquid, and powder, and I use it for all because I have blush formulas in all three. But this particular brush I like. I didn't use it today to apply my blush, but I like that you can really get into the apples of the cheek very well. And if you have a smaller face, you may prefer this brush as opposed to the 96, which I just showed you, which is fairly large or medium, and you might also prefer it to the 93. You might be wondering, do I need all three of these? Well, if you are a makeup enthusiast like myself and you love to have a lot of brush options at your disposal, get all three of them. You will not be disappointed. But if you wanted to narrow it down, maybe you were just starting out with your collection, I would say you could probably get by with one of these two, so either the 99 or the 96, and you might consider adding the 93 to your collection because it has this angled design, and as I mentioned earlier, you can use it to buff in and blend out your contour products as well. So I would say one of these two and this one, you'd be in really good shape. So those are my 3 Sephora blush brushes. Moving right along, let's call out the 88, and this is a bronzer brush. I will say, so similar to this brush, but very different. I don't love it as much, I must say. So these fibers are much denser than this larger, fluffier brush, which is the 80 that I showed you earlier. So they're denser. This is probably best with cream and liquid contour products. I don't love it. I hardly ever use it. It's funny that it's dirty because I use it sometimes, but I will say I'd much rather prefer this brush over this brush. I don't think it's bad because it's so concentrated. I think this will allow you to get more of that defined contour bronzed look that I was referencing earlier. And so that's why I picked it up. But all in all, I don't use it a ton. Again, you can use it to apply bronzer products, but it's not my favorite. I would say you could skip it unless, again, you were going for that more defined, chiseled look. All right, let's move to the 64. So this is a foundation brush. You can see this is the dual fiber brush, similar to other brushes that I have in my collection for, non-Sephora brush lines. I don't like this. I do not like the 64. And the irony in this is I don't ever really like these dual fiber brushes. You can see maybe it's a little dirty, a lot dirty. Sorry. But this brush is a little sparser. I like a more full coverage look nowadays. I certainly wear no makeup like most of the time. I also like to wear light to medium coverage sometimes too. So hear me say that when I want an actual beat, this ain't it. I don't like it, and I feel that these brushes, maybe I don't apply the product with them correctly. I just feel like I can do without them. And so for that reason, I would, unless this is your jam, you love these, you won't be disappointed because these are overall really high quality brushes and they are affordable. But I would say if this is not your jam and you like a more full coverage, then maybe, you can skip the 64. All right, moving right along to another foundation brush. This is a little guy. This is a 56. I have to look at that number there. So this is the Sephora 56. So I'll zoom in too so you can see. This is a foundation brush. It is a small, I called it a little guy. It's on the small side. This brush is very dirty. You can see that I do use it. I do not use this to apply foundation, however. So you can use the brush technically to apply liquid and cream foundations. You would not want to use a brush like this to apply powder, nor would you want to with some of the other brushes I just showed you. You would want a much sort of fluffier brush to apply powder products, but liquid creams and emollient products are probably just fine for a brush like the 56. It's so small. I have a big face. Okay, you see all this face? I would take forever. I like efficiency especially when I'm doing a beat in my makeup, because it already takes a long time anyways. So I do, however, get a lot of use out of this brush. I often use it to apply my color corrector, and that is why it has this more orange color on it, because my color corrector is on the peachier side. So I do think this brush is worth picking up if you are willing to use it for your foundation, and you do prefer a smaller foundation brush, then you're in good shape. This one isn't bad. It's not my favorite. But if you are interested in a brush that you can use to apply other products like color correctors, this might be your brush. So the 56 might be worth picking up. All right, moving right along, let's talk about the 47. This one, I don't even know why it's dirty. It's a pro foundation brush as well. It has this more tapered edge to it, so you can see it sort of fans out. It's got the densely packed bristles here, and then it thins out towards the top as it tapers off. This is a new one. It reminds me of my BK Beauty brushes. It reminds me of my Morphe brush. I have a brush similar to this. I feel like I have a lot of brushes that look just like this, but I love the Sephora Pro brush line quality, and so I wanted to pick it up. I know I'll end up using it. It's so small though, I can guarantee you I likely won't use it to apply my overall foundation. Instead, I would likely use this brush to buff in my cream or my liquid contour or bronzer products because of the shape. And in fact, it's perfect for that. So that's exactly why I picked it up. Again, I am not above using brushes off label because it's only guidance for how you could use the brush. It works just like with the brush I showed you just a moment ago. To use a brush to apply something else, then do it. I haven't used this one yet, so I cannot tell you whether I'm going to like it or not. I strongly suspect I will, because I've been pleasantly surprised with all of the other Sephora Pro brush makeup brushes, tongue-tied makeup brushes. And I also like this shape, so I'm certain that I'll end up being happy with this, but maybe I'll swing back around in a short to let you know what I think about it and my overall recommendation. Let's swing to the 90, and then we're drawing this video to a close. So this is a pro highlight brush. Funny enough, one of the Sephora sales associates mentioned this brush. She mentioned that she actually uses it to apply her overall foundation. And I was not interested in it for that because it's so tiny. I use this brush again to apply my color corrector. And then sometimes I actually use it. I never use it to apply my highlight products. Sometimes I use it to actually buff in my contour product contour. So I would say color corrector and contour. You can use cream and liquid products with this. You can technically use powder too. It's fairly small. It is a little fluffy. It might not be the best brush to use to apply powder. It's very concentrated here. It's not as fluffy, so you might not get the blend you are looking for. But I would recommend the 90. Do you have to have the 90? No. I would say I would not like this brush as a highlight brush. So if you're interested in it as a highlight brush, I did use it once or so. I didn't like it. I would say it's a no-go for a highlight application, but again, I am not above using it for color correction and also to blend in my contour products. Okay, I'll now cover the 78, which is, oddly enough, a contour brush. So this 78 contour brush, I do like. I don't like it as much, so I'll just spoil it right out the gate and say you could probably do without it. You can see they are very densely packed sort of hairs here. It's very fine, it's very compact. You would want to use cream and liquid and emollient products. You would definitely probably not want to use a powder when you're using this brush. I think that they're just too tight for me when it comes to applying my contour. Nowadays, I don't like it as sharp and as defined. I like a more natural, diffused look. And so I'm not a huge fan of this one. And so for that alone, I would actually, say that you can skip the 78, especially with some of the other brushes that I already mentioned being pretty good. Okay, so the 98 here is a highlight brush. This is one of my favorite. It gets a lot of use. I use it to apply highlight, so powder products with this you would want to make sure you use. I use it to apply my highlight. I also use it to apply color like so powder products on my lids. So I will often set my lids because I'm an oily person and my lids will absolutely crease throughout the day. So I do use this brush a lot to apply powder on my lids, and it's typically just foundation powder, pressed powder, and loose powder sometimes too. But I definitely use this to apply highlight, and I think it's great and worth having. I would recommend the 98. Okay, second to last brush is the 57. It's the Pro Concealer brush. I don't like it. It's just not fluffy enough. Like, bottom line, you can use this to apply obviously liquid and emollient and cream concealer products. I've only used it like a handful of times for that. I just find it's way too dense for me. I prefer a very fluffy concealer brush. I just like to really be able to blend out the product underneath my eyes rather than sort of press it in. So I'm not a huge fan of the 57, and for that reason, I have to recommend that you skip it. However, don't worry, I have another concealer brush. The very last brush is a 71. So the 71 has that taper on it similar to the 47 that I mentioned. It's almost a small version of it. It's really dirty. I probably should have cleaned this because you don't get a feel for how fluffy it is. It is on the fluffier side, but not as fluffy. So how I use this brush, how I use this brush is I actually use it to apply my potted concealer. So I use a NARS product that is an emollient based product that does color correcting and brightening all in one step. And so I use this almost every day to address those darker circles underneath my eyes. And this picks up sufficient product. It lays it down. It's very, very effective. This is the 71. I like it so much, I will probably buy another one at some point because I like to have backups because I'm just that person. I said I was a brush addict. Don't judge me. Well, my friends, that was all 14 brushes, I believe. Here they are all together. Overall thoughts. The Sephora brush line is great. For the price, they are really high quality brushes. Even with the brushes that I've been disappointed with, it's just a matter of preference. I've not had any issues with the quality of the brushes, and some I've had over a year. Overall, I'm very content and happy with the brushes. As they release new brushes, if I'm a fan of them, I'll go ahead and pick them up. And with that being said, if you are on the fence and you're interested in seeing, like, are they good quality and picking one or two up, pick them up. You will not be disappointed. I hope this review offered some context and perspective and shared a little bit more about how I use the brushes. Thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments which brush was your favorite brush. And also consider subscribing to the channel, turning on the bell notifications so you don't miss when I upload my very next video. Thanks for watching.